Hello and welcome to the Daily Creative Challenges in Adobe Illustrator. Welcome everybody. My name is Julia Vaca and I'm your host for this series of Daily Creative Challenges. We are here on Behance, so if you're joining us from YouTube, head over to be.net/Adobe Live. This is where I'm reading the chat and you can also ask questions, get in touch with our community. We have a bunch of amazing people here in the chat. I already see Michaela, Susan, Anthony, Barry, Carol. Wow, Robert is here, Wade is here, Andrew, hi, awesome. And who else? Gareth is joining us, and Sven, Diego, wow. Come say hi in the chat, let me know where you all are tuning in from. And if you are coming in and you are new here, hi Paloma, cool, hi Ashraful. If you're new here, come say hi in the chat and let us know if you're a newbie. We always love to know and welcome our newbies. Cool. So today's Daily Creative Challenge is going to be about creating a promotional poster, and we are going to be working with some geometric shapes and the type tool to create this poster. And then what we are doing is we're posting this work that we're doing throughout the Daily Creative Challenge in our Discord channel. So if you want to head over to our Discord, it's this link right here, bit.ly/AI Discord. And so this is a place where we share our work and where we are connecting and learning from each other. This is what that looks like. You can see some past challenges here. This is the challenge number 3 that we did last week. And this is really great work by Ashraful. Wonderful. My name is Ashraful Islam Suraf, and I'm a graphic designer. Very nice. I love your guys' work. Look at this also. Anna submitted this amazing poster. How cool. So last week we were working on creating a poster using the rulers, so we were kind of learning how to set up a general layout, and today we are actually going to be creating a promotional poster. So I'm super excited about that. Another place that I recommend you going is our Daily Creative Challenge page on behance.net/challenge/illustrator. There are also different other challenges that we're doing with Adobe XD and also in Photoshop. So if you want to join those, it will be /challenge/Photoshop or /challenge/XD. All right, so this is our Daily Creative Challenge page, and here you can sign up to take the challenge, and you will get email notifications whenever a new challenge is live. Here you can also join our community chat, which is our Discord that we just saw, and every day we have a new challenge pop up over here. So last time we were working on a poster layout, and today we're going to be working on a promotional poster. Now I recommend you click get started right here. Once you click get started, you'll be able to access the starter file that I've prepared for you. And once we're done for today, you will export the file and post it into the Daily Creative Challenge page by going into the challenge feedback right here. So I'm gonna zoom in here. So feedback challenge, this is where we are posting all of our submissions, and you can do that by clicking the little plus element right here at the bottom. It's really tiny, so you might not see it, but it's there. So click that, and then you can upload your file from your computer, and let's get started. I'm super excited to do some fun poster layouts today. So this is something that we were doing last time, but today we're going to be designing something slightly different, and I'm going to open this file right now so that we can kind of all start right away together. And you can see I already kind of had some fun designing these starter files. So this is exactly what you should get when you download the file. And here again we have a little instruction on the side, and feel free to also use these colors that we have inside this panel on the right that I've created for you. But we are going to be working in this workspace right here. This is our artboard. And how can you see what is an artboard in our workspace? You can go into the artboard tool right here at the bottom. So bottom left, you click that, and then you can see all the artboards that you have. They all have this little dash line around them, and you'll be able to recognize them. So you can see, if I zoom out, let's see. If I zoom out, you can see that I only have one artboard set up for you. And why is the reason for why I created only one artboard is because when we are going to be exporting our file, we are going to be needing only this space, right? This is just instruction. So this is the reason why I set it up this way. All right, cool. So we are mostly going to be in our selection tool, doing some stuff, moving things around. So remember the shortcut for the selection tool is the letter V on your keyboard, right? And then we also have the direct selection tool with which we can access exact points of a vector, and that is the shortcut letter A on your keyboard. But most of the times we're going to be working in the regular selection tool to move around objects, to resize them, and so on. Cool, so let's get started and let's create a background for our artwork. And I'm going to create a rectangle that goes all the way across my artboard here, and I'm going to remove the outline, and I'm going to click on the fill right here, click on the fill, and use my eyedropper tool, letter I on my keyboard, and sample one of these colors. Maybe we're going to be going for this lighter shade of gray, or maybe you want to go for something dark to kind of have a darker background and then have a lighter kind of color setup in your poster. So whatever it is you decide for, make sure to create enough contrast so that your poster actually pops up and is visible and has enough contrast. Cool. So let's create a poster layout for ourselves first. And I'm going to be using a rectangle. First, actually, let's lock this background by selecting it. And I'm going to click Command and 2 so that the background is nice and locked and it's not going to get into our way. We're not going to be able to move it around while we're designing other things. So let's get back to our rectangle, and we're going to be creating a rectangle just like that. And again, I'm always switching between the tool that I'm using, and I'm always using the letter V to get back to my selection tool to actually be able to move around my objects, right? And again, I'm also very often using the shortcut I for the eyedropper to be able to sample some of these colors that I have on the right. Again, I'm clicking V and going into my selection tool. Cool, so I would create something that looks somewhat like a poster. It doesn't have to be very precise. We just want to create a visual for it, so we don't have to follow any exact measurements, but feel free to apply this design to actual poster. But for that, you would have to set up a separate file. If you wanted to print it, you would have to set up the file with CMYK color mode. But for now, we're going to be working here and just creating the visual, so the concept art for our promotional poster. And so our promotional poster is going to be all about a music festival that goes on in the city. And you can feel free to, of course, to pick your theme that you want to create for, but make sure that it's some type of promotion, maybe a festival, maybe it's a birthday party, maybe it's something that's going on, or maybe it's a product that you want to promote, whatever you like. But let's set this up first, and as I have locked up my background, I'm also going to lock this portion as well, clicking Command and 2. Now you can see I cannot select none of these rectangles that I've just created because they are now locked, and we can later on unlock those with Command, Option, and 2. All right, so now let's get started, and I wanted to create some city vibe in my poster because this is a music festival. So we're going to be using shapes, and we are going to be using some typography in our poster to give some basic information like the name of the happening. Is it a festival, is it a birthday party, whatever it is, whatever your promotion is all about, and that is what the message needs to be in or will be in text form. And then we will create additional supporting graphic elements, kind of somewhat like here, that are going to help us create an atmosphere for our festival. All right, so cool, let's get started. And I'm going to be starting with the rectangle tool, and I'm going to be creating some type of like a city landscape, so that we have like a skyline going in the background. And I'm going to just pull out one of the rectangles, and I'm going to sample this blue color, again using the letter I on my keyboard. I'm going to sample this color. And now what I want to do is I'm going to create some dimensionality in this. And for that, I'm going to go in and create a little kind of like a shadow effect for this portion. And I'm going to sample the darker color, again, using the letter I on my keyboard. There we go. Now let's create some dimensionality at the top as well. And what I want to do is I actually want to access some of the points inside these shapes, and I'm going to kind of customize my rectangle a little bit, and I'm going to move around the vector points. And for that, I'm going into the direct selection tool or the shortcut A on your keyboard, right? And I'm going to take one of these points and I'm going to pull it down just a little bit. You can feel free to hold shift so that it's nice and locked to the vertical. And I'm going to do the same thing with this point as well. And I'm going to put them both a little bit kind of like lower down. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to be creating another shape that kind of goes in here and fills in that space. We can of course go in and create a rectangle, or we can go in and use the pen tool. I think the pen tool in this case will be probably easier. So let's lock the two of these objects using Command and 2. Now I've locked them now, and I can now easily create my custom shape, which I want to kind of look like as if it's kind of the roof of the building, right? So I'm going to just go in and fill in that space over here by clicking and connecting the points. So now we have this object that kind of almost looks like it's three-dimensional, and I can go in still with shortcut A again, and I can go in and move around any of these points and kind of adjust it to my needs, right? I want it to look kind of symmetrical. I don't want it to have too much depth. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to recolor this portion that I've created up top, and I'm going to recolor it into a different color. And using the letter I on my keyboard, again, I'm going to sample this darker shade. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create copies of this portion. So I'm going to unlock the objects because my two little pieces here, they're still locked, right? So Command Option and 2, now I have all of my objects unlocked, and I'm going to go back in and lock these two by selecting them and clicking Command and 2. Now we have this object complete, and we can feel free to move it around, right? And now since we have created multiple shapes, they might get out of touch once we move them. So when we move them, something like this might happen. And by the way, to go back a step, Command and Z. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to be grouping them so that I can create copies and I can move them around as a whole group of objects. So for that, I'm going to select all of the objects with the selection tool and click Command and G. Now I have grouped them, and if I'm going to move this around, it's going to be acting like one big object, right? So I'm going to use Option, and I'm going to create copies of that. Maybe a lot of copies so that it actually looks like a skyline. Now, of course, the skyline is not always perfectly on the same level, so I'm going to move some of these down, some of these up, and just kind of create some type of like a wavy structure that also reminds us of, you know, when we play music and you see those music bars. I'm not sure how they're called, but it has kind of this connection of music and city, and this is what my festival is all about. So you can feel free also to connect those together so they're nice and kind of lined up, or you can feel free to leave some space. It also depends on your color that you choose, how that setup might work best for you. And again, I'm using the Option key, holding the Option key, and creating copies of this element. Now, if you feel like your element is not reaching all the way to the bottom, you can still go in with the selection tool, and we can double click into this group. And with the selection tool, or direct selection tool, we can, holding shift, we can select all of these, or just not holding shift and selecting all of the objects, and then we can pull them down. Now that one wasn't selected. Just make sure to pull them all down so they cover all this empty space that was not filled with the object. All right, cool. So that's how you can kind of adjust that. And I'm going to go in and complete this setup here. Now we have a really nice kind of play going at the bottom. What we can also do is we can of course play with size. We can go in and take this whole thing and make that larger and see, you know, how it actually fits our poster. And right now it seems like this is going to be covering about a third of the poster, which is kind of a good proportion for us, right? The golden ratio. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this object is masked to fit exactly my poster, right? So that we don't have any of these excess elements kind of being around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangle on top of that, and I'm going to mask these objects with that rectangle. So I'm going to create something like this, and so you can better see the rectangle. Here it is in a different color. Now I'm going to select all of the objects, and remember, the background is all locked, so we don't even have access to that, so that we can only select our blocks and the rectangle. And now I'm going to right click and make clipping mask. Now we have this really nice kind of setup with our little blocks that remind us of music. And now I'm going to add the text. By the way, if I'm going too slow, yes, Command Z is a helpful lifesaver. If I'm going too fast and you want me to repeat something, please feel free to write that into the chat, or if you have any questions, we are always here. Command Z, yes. Aaron, what's Command 7? I'm not sure. Okay, cool. Rule of thirds, Barry. That's right. That's the golden ratio. Cool. So now we are going to be creating some typography within our poster. And you can also go in and use the ruler tool with Command and R to set yourself a layout. So I'm going to just pull in some of these lines by clicking and dragging straight from the ruler. You'll be able to pull in the rulers into your layout. And this is for us just to have some type of orientation of how these things are going to be set, how the text is going to be set up. Now you can see I took the orientation from my layout kind of from one of these blocks to continue to the top, and this is where my text is going to be starting. Now I'm going to go in with my type tool, and I'm going to create a text box. And in this text box, we are going to have very large text, right? So I'm going to click delete on my keyboard, and I'm going to type in my text that I want to be part of my promotional poster. And my festival is called Music in the City. So I'm going to type in Music in the City, right? Right now, the font size is quite small, so we're going to go in, select it, go into properties and make it large. You can also go in and type in your custom number in here for the size of the font. So we can go in and make something like 200, or maybe if that's too large, we can make something like 150. All right. So let's zoom out, and now you might get a situation like this one where the text is not fitting the box. And this you can notice when you have this little red element here at the bottom right. So for that, we're just simply going to pull out the text box a little bit, and I want to also, of course, adjust the font because we don't want to go with our default font. And here I can go in and set the font family. So I can go in and do something fun like this, or I can go and select one of my favorites, honestly, to be working flexibly is Acumen Variable Concept, because you can simply click into the variable font section and you can adjust the weight in a very custom way. So you can actually see in real time how the weight of the text is affecting the whole layout of yours. And then we can also adjust the width of the letters. And that's something I want to also adjust. I really like bold and wide fonts. Here you can also add a slant if you want, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to go in and set the font size to slightly smaller so that my letters just fit into the box and kind of cover the whole space, right? So you can go really step by step and adjust that. Cool. And I want to have also in one line, so I'm going to go in and make that even slightly smaller so that those also fit perfectly. Now I have the text size adjusted, I have the text weight adjusted. I want to reduce the distance between my lines a little bit, and that's why I'm going here into my section where I can adjust the leading. Right? And here I'm going to go in and make that smaller. And you can again go in with the bottom arrow right here and click that bottom arrow until you are satisfied with the distribution of the letters vertically, right? So something like this is great. And to kind of give you a little basic of how to actually create that balance. And with leading and kerning, I would suggest to have a higher, like a larger space between the lines than between the letters, because if your letters are distributed very far apart and your line width is line height is very small, you might connect the letters in a confusing way, right? So when letters look like they're closer together, you might start reading from top to bottom instead from left to right. So that's just the danger of that. And make sure to have a little bit more space vertically between the letters than horizontally, right? You see that horizontally we have not so much space as we have vertically, which makes it very easy to read. So when we zoom out, we definitely need to be able to read the text. I'm also going to go in and adjust the kerning a little bit and make it slightly smaller so that the letters kind of look almost like text blocks, and it's just very you kind of connect the letters together faster with your eye, especially if it's such a large font. Cool, now we can go in and adjust the color of this text if we want to. We don't have to. We can also go in and play around with our setup of our blocks here. We can double click into the mask, select the rectangle, and we can even create something like this where where the text blocks finish, where the text is actually finishing. So you can go in and create something like this instead. And of course you can still go in and adjust the height of your blocks. Again, you can click into the masking group and you can adjust the rectangle to fit whatever proportion you want it to fit. Now I also see that we have a little piece here that's looking out, so I can still go in and click into this masking group. Okay, and I can go in and select these parts by holding Shift. I'm going to be able to select multiple objects, and I'm going to make them slightly smaller so they all fit perfectly into the space and there is no cut off objects, right? So something like this, and I'm going to pull them up just a little bit. Yeah, like that. And the other ones don't really matter. They're in the mask, but you don't really see them, so you can either delete them or you can keep them like this. Now you can of course match the text here as well with your blocks. So I can go in again and pull one of these slightly further up so they cover a little bit of this white space that we have after the word city. So maybe something like this, and we can go in and we have the complete flexibility of setting up this wave for ourselves and kind of making sure that the text is kind of being paid attention to. And right now we have something that's kind of going like a stairs that goes up, which is also really cool. And to create some irregularity, what we can do is, and what I like actually doing is just take one of the blocks, right click, transform, reflect, and we can just create some irregularity in this, because why being so boring, right? We can also have fun and experiment. Now, of course, the shadow side has to be the same color as the other blocks. So we are going to be kind of flipping the colors here and making them like so. Cool, right? We created some irregularity in our poster, made it a little bit more fun. We filled up the white space here a little bit and made it more balanced. We have our text. The only information we're missing right now is when and where, right? So we're going to be putting in some extra information here, another text box, and we're going to be using the same font but a way smaller size, so maybe like a size 21. And here we're going to be writing New York City, and our festival is going to be on let's say October 10th. Oh, okay, where is our text? Our text is gone. No. Okay, that is because we have our leading set to a specific amount. So we're going to turn that down and move that October 10th up all the way so it's right next to New York City. October 10th, 2022. There we go. Cool. So we have, and let's put also maybe like 3 to 8 p.m. All right, cool. Yeah, so we have some additional information going here. And of course, feel free to, again, go in and adjust your blocks depending on, the setup that you want. And I'm even going to put this a little bit tighter together by adjusting the leading to a little bit a lower size. So we have these two pieces of information clearly kind of divided from each other. And we have this really cool poster going. Yay, music in the city. Cool. So now we're going to remove these guides and preview our layout as a whole, and we're going to be exporting our artwork by going into File, Export, Export As, and here we can decide PNG. Do you want to have a transparent background or not? I would suggest JPEG will be perfectly fine for us. And then make sure to click Use Artboards and Export. Okay, and we are going to be adding this submission to our Daily Creative Challenge page. Again, here is the link, bit.ly/AI Discord is where you want to submit your design. And cool, we already have some submissions. So just simply click the little plus element right here, upload your file and select it from your computer and bring it into our chat, get some feedback from our amazing mentors and moderators here. I'm also here. Feel free to shoot me a message or ask me something specific. I'm always happy to answer questions. Awesome, my friends. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope this was fun to work with. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow's Daily Creative Challenge. And it's going to be, again, a super fun challenge. I cannot tell you what it is, but you can check in on the Daily Creative Challenge page tomorrow morning, first thing, or in our Discord. We also publish the challenges that are coming up. All right, I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, and have a wonderful day. Stay tuned for the program. Bye-bye.